let's start with Karine Jean-Pierre about the plea deal on 9/11 that everybody is so happy about. Let's let those people not get the death penalty. What did they do? They only killed 3,000 people. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre.
And does he have a message to some of the 9/11 families who wanted to see a full trial, who wanted to see this kind of come to a fuller process?
So look, this is basically what Jake said. This is something that we had no involvement in. He didn't have any involvement in. And so the White House played no role in this process, and the president directed his team to consult as appropriate with officials and lawyers and Department of Defense, obviously. We have said this before. We are. Our hearts go out to the families who lost their loved ones on that day. And the president on 9/11 has honored them every year, and the families who lost their loved one on that terrible day.
Okay, all right. Well, I feel like they've got things under control there at the White House. Now, Joe Biden is there on the tarmac waiting for the American citizens imprisoned in Russia. And Biden is there, and he spots a cute little girl. Oh, God. Cut two.
You all know we have a tradition in the Biden family. We sing happy birthday on any birthday. You ready? All of you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Miriam. Happy birthday to you. Remember, no serious guys.
Dating advice. Yeah, that's
God love
right.
you. She's Alsu's daughter.
I love you. Oh, isn't that great? Hugging her, giving her a little kiss, keeping her close. You know what I mean? Hey, don't no serious dating until you're 30. I'm not interested after 30. So we had that going on. Now, in this this hostage release, what was really nice was Joe Biden said, Donald Trump couldn't have gotten this deal done. He wouldn't have done this. I got Putin on the horn, and we made a deal. Well, let's talk about that here for a second. There's a couple of things that are wrong with that. First of all, why do you think Putin got on the phone with you right at election time? Do you think he's for Donald Trump, or is he for you being president? So he's making a deal which makes you look good. What does that tell you? Does that tell you that Putin is afraid of you? No, he's doing PR for you. He wants the Biden administration, not the Trump administration. Hello, ding dong. Also, you did make a deal, and it was lousy for us. Why is it they got more than we got? Well, why? Because you're desperate. You're desperate, that's why, and he knows that. And he wants to play into the political narrative here in America. Okay, so now when he's on the tarmac, Kamala has her first unscripted moment in the last couple of weeks. They're talking to her and Biden, and he's just standing there like, I have no idea what she's saying. And they say, what any comments on what's about to happen? And here's what Kamala says. 21, please.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
What did she just say? It's one of her circular. Oh my God!
By the way, Glenn, that is, I believe, officially the first question she's been asked. I may have missed something. I know RuPaul asked her a couple questions, so I'm not counting those. But I'm saying from a reporter, and I believe it was, "How do you feel about this amazing thing that happened?" But that's, I believe, the first question she's been asked. And it was the easiest question imaginable. Basically,
and she blows it.
Compliment yourself, and she still blew it. We got to get her. You just got to get her on. You got to get her in front of these cameras. Well, as soon as people see this, this little boomlet goes away.
I tell you, I have a real problem with you, Stu, because you're so racist. She's still reeling from President Trump, saying, I thought she was an Indian. And everybody in the press, and they know what they're doing. They are taking and twisting his words. He's not saying she wasn't black. He was making a comment of, wait, but she never called herself black until this point in the election. And then when she needed the black vote, she said, oh, I'm black. Here she is, Kamala Harris, 2019, cut 22.
Okay. Is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
yes.
But actually we're both South Indian.
Okay.
Yes. You look like...
Wait, hold on. Can we need to stop and address one thing here. What Mindy Kaling just said has never occurred. Never, ever, one time in her life did this incredibly famous person who is on one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time have someone walk up to her and say, did you know Kamala Harris was Indian? That story never, ever, ever occurred. That is complete nonsense. I just want to at least get that on the record.
Okay. Next, here's Kamala Harris in 2020. She's not black, she's Indian. Listen.
Today, on August 15th, 2020, I stand before you as the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent.
Okay. Now, nobody is saying she's not black. Okay, yes, she's black, she's Indian, she's half black, she's half Indian. We know how science works. You're the ones confused about what's a woman. So we got it. Her dad was black. Her mom was Indian. Even Don Lemon, when she started saying that she was black, he was starting to be offended because he's like, she's calling herself African American. Listen, this is Don Lemon.
Black woman.
Okay, that's why I agree with that. I agree with that. But is she African American? No. But is she African American? There's a difference. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is trying to take anything away from her.
Let's go down into her lineage.
I think you're falling into the trap of that. All she had to do was say, I am black.
Remember how much trouble he got in for that? She's not African American. No, she's not. She's Jamaican Indian. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Except she uses it to play on constituents. That's the only thing Donald Trump was saying. He's not questioning who she is. We all know who she is now. But she said she was Indian when she was needing the Indian vote, and then she's black when she needs the black vote. She's both.
Yeah, and the way
please,
it's so bad. The way he actually said it was, and she turned black a couple years ago. Yeah. And they are so dishonest that they're acting as if they think he thought she just turned black, like a literal statement. Now they know exactly what they're doing, but it's amazing as well. This is coming from the same people who say you can change races based on just saying it. Right?
I know.
Should be, this is like the Rachel Dolezal thing. If it was literal, they would be supporting it.
Right.
If she just was Indian her whole life and just said she was black, they would then say she's now black. But because Donald Trump made the point in a critical way, all of a sudden that's not possible. It's racist to even suggest.
I know. So I would like to suggest that she's not only Jamaican Indian, black, but she's also Southern because, she was raised in Berkeley. That's Southern California, isn't it? Which explains her speech this week with a Southern accent. 26.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
It's Hillary all over again.
That is Southern California. I mean, she's all over it. All over it. I don't know if you heard Michael Malice this week, but I love Michael Malice. and what he said on Joe Rogan this week about Kamala Harris. Listen.
Right. If you're going after Officer Harris, you're either racist or sexist or ableist.
Right.
So they will use
ableist.
Yeah, because she's a retard. She's literally retarded.
Jeez.
I mean, Ukraine is a country in Europe, and Russia is another country and a powerful country, and Russia invaded Ukraine, and that's wrong.
What's really important is what can be unburdened by what has been.
I think of her as America's wine mom because seems like she's 3 deep by noon, and she's got the 3 phases of wine mom. She's got happy drunk. Oh my God, this cereal's got a rabbit on it. It's so great. Cackling, cackling, cackling. Then there is trying to drunk at work, where you're trying to make sense, but you don't. Space is around us all and unites us all and inspires us all. And then there's I'm being stern so you don't realize how plastered I am, and I'm making a point. Dr. Little Girl was me. Now I'm going to go upstairs and don't knock on the door because I'm going to pass out. So those are her 3 ways she talks, and those are the wine mom phases.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
Can I tell you something, though? When I listen to that, I just think this is so vapid. But then I think, how many Americans need it broken down that way?
Certainly her voters do.
Yeah. It's a bigger country, and so then that's wrong. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mamala. I appreciate that. Now I understand big things. Big countries shouldn't go into little countries. Can little countries go into big countries? Would that be wrong? I mean, it's amazing.
Do we know, Glenn, how many various ceilings she would be busting through with this? Because we know we'd have the first black woman. We would have the first woman. We would have the first Indian. We would have the first South Asian. We would also have the first Asian. And this one in particularly is bothersome because at some point, like, I don't know, maybe it's 20, somewhere in the 20 years from now, some great grandson or granddaughter of a Japanese American who was put into internment camps by the president that every Democrat thinks is the best president of all time, is going to rise to power and maybe be elected president. And they're going to be like, actually, you're the second Asian president. Sorry, Kamala won back in 2024, God forbid. And sorry, you don't count. You didn't break any ceilings. You're a giant zilch. You get no recognition. Sorry about that. Good night. I mean, that's sad.
It's did you hear the flashback of Gerald Ford from 1978 or 79? Where he was asked, he was running against Ronald Reagan at the time. And they're in the primaries, and he's asked by this little girl, I'm 8 years old, and I want to see someday a female president. What is it going to take? What advice would you give an 8-year-old girl who wants to be president? Okay. So he says, well, I'll tell you, we'll have a female president. It is inevitable in the future, but let me tell you how it's going to come. Okay. This is 1978 or 79. Let me tell you how it's going to come. Either the Democrats or the Republicans are eventually going to nominate a woman to be the vice president. And the vice president will be serving in that administration until the president dies or bows out. And that's how she'll become president. That will be your first president.
Really? I have not heard that. That's an incredible...
Isn't that crazy?
Bizarre moment. I mean, why would he... I mean, was he just so convinced Americans hated women, or was he convinced they were sexist, or what was the reasoning for that?
I don't know. I would imagine that he didn't think that kind of change could be made.
Really? Like,
I mean,
president. Again, and this is the 70s, so it's a different era. I understand, but... I don't know.
Run by white men, keeping women down.
That's a fact. I hear that quote.
Yeah, it's fascinating.